Well, we are back live. I'm super excited to be back with you guys. It is episode number 8 of Selling During Crisis. Why do we call it Selling During Crisis? Because we know that a lot of sales folks are going through so much out there. So in the past 7 episodes, we've had authors and sales trainers, and we've had people that do LinkedIn and people with Vidyard Video. And now I'm super excited to have another special guest on with us right now, Adrian Miller, who is a business development consultant committed to providing her clients with sales solutions that guarantee business growth and increase sales success. Launching her business 33 years ago, Adrian is recognized for her hands-on and highly practical approach to business development, as well as her ability to scale her programs to meet the needs of her diverse clients. She loves writing. She launched a workshop copyright business where she develops, creates customized newsletters, blogs, marketing and sales materials, websites, and social media, all designed to increase her clients' visibility, credibility, and market penetration. I highlight social media because that's a big topic with me. So let me introduce you to Adrian. Let me bring her in. Hello, Adrian. How are you?
Hello, I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. So tell the audience a little bit about yourself. Tell them, fill in some of the gaps on what I probably didn't cover in your bio, and then we'll take it from there.
Sure. So I am a sales consultant and trainer. And yes, I've been doing that for 33 years, working in every possible industry and in companies ranging from solopreneurs to very large global companies. I'm also an author, and I do run a content development company, and I've written a book. And right now, take this down, www.theblatanttruth.com. And if you go to that site, you can get a free download of that book. It's The Blatant Truth, 50 Ways to Sales Success. It's a fast read. It's filled with tips and techniques on selling and how you can deploy certain things and be more effective. And that's me in terms of the sales world. Love speaking about sales. It's part of my DNA. And so I'm so glad Jonathan has me here.
Well, and let's start right there, Adrian, because I love that you say that you love sales, right? I consider myself a sales geek as well. And I will tell you that I know the one thing that I feel, and I think you'd agree with, is that sales is a tough job in the best of times. Now, drop a global pandemic in the middle of it, and it could seem damn near impossible, right? And so I want to talk to you about, resiliency. It's a word that we throw out a lot when it comes to businesses and having salespeople be resilient and businesses be resilient during the best of times and the worst of times. But I think sales burnout could be a real risk. And so what are you teaching some of the folks that your clients right now about how to keep the sales team engaged, focused with their eye on the prize to what the mission of the business is? How are you doing that now?
Well, I'm working with people. I mean, we're it's funny, like here we are in January and this pandemic started in March, right? So we're almost a year in, and in terms of pivoting and figuring out how you're going to have to do it, I dare say many have figured out your product and service has to be something that people want or need. And during the pandemic, there were certain businesses and industries that got leveled. And the idea of pivoting really wasn't a possibility versus changing totally. I mean, it was going entirely into a different sector. But for everyone else, yeah, looking at the products or services that you deploy and how to best communicate core benefits and advantages to the people that you're trying to sell to. In terms of sales managers, how do you keep your team resilient? I feel like whether it's COVID or not, I understand it's much more difficult in COVID, but how you keep your team feeling charged up and resilient and deploying the necessary grit that they have to deploy is staying close to that team. It's having amazing communication skills and being able to consistently support, educate, and encourage everyone who's involved in taking that product or service to market. And it really is support, educate, and encourage. All three things are incredibly important. You can't have one without the other.
Sure. And I love that you say that. So support, educate, encourage, right? Those are the three main things. Now, I'm doing a lot of work right now. Let's look at that last one, encourage, because you helped me dovetail into my next question. I've been kind of doing a lot of research on, people who are trying to build this online presence, this online brand. And I know that there's a lot of conversation when we talk about upper sales management or upper management in general that is kind of confused on how to navigate through this social media maze. In your training, you help deploy impactful, no BS content for blogs, newsletters, and social media and more. I love that you say that. No BS. I think that's the New Yorker in us, right, Adrian? I mean, let's get straight to the point. Let's stop with all the nonsense. No BS. Let's cut through it. And so my question to you is two questions, actually. How do you capture attention on, let's say, LinkedIn? Let's not go crazy with social media because there's so many platforms out there. Now there's this new Clubhouse thing and all that we can get into.
That's all talk.
Yeah. Let's just focus on LinkedIn for right now, or a blog. How can someone capture attention on those? And do you feel that most sales people do it wrong, and that's the reason why maybe upper management is afraid?
So let's talk about LinkedIn. And I'm certainly not a LinkedIn consultant or coach. God knows there are so many of them out there. And I've taken a lot of seminars and classes, and I have jumped into this LinkedIn swimming pool very aggressively, again, pre-COVID. And I'm pretty active on there. I post every day, at least every day, sometimes more. I comment and I like, and I get engagement with other people, even if I'm just engaging with someone who commented on one of my connections posts, not even on my post, but they commented on one of the connections posts, and so I'll comment on their comment, and all of a sudden, lo and behold, we have a relationship. And that's the key word, relationship. Mm-hmm. You are not cold selling on LinkedIn. You are not connecting, and the next thing you do is sending a direct message, pushing your stuff. I mean, that will get you into a tremendous problem, because you're not going to get anywhere, and you're going to start to get disenchanted with the platform, and then you're not going to use it for what it's really good for. So what's it good for? Starting relationships, building visibility and recognition, credibility. Once you have the visibility, recognition, credibility, and the relationship is started, you can have an engagement, a conversation with people, even off of the platform. You don't have to stay on LinkedIn the whole time. I like having phone calls. I'm excited when I say to someone, let's just have a phone conversation. Yeah, we can do the Zoom thing too. If you want to do the Zoom thing, that's fine. But before there was COVID, we used to actually have real phone calls. And I find that if I'm not constantly looking at a screen, maybe my phone call is even a little bit better. You have to get off that social media platform at a certain point in time. It also, I think, dovetails a little bit depending on what you're selling, what your product or service is. But certainly for me, a very consultative, relationship-driven type of service. I meet you on LinkedIn, and then 1 hour later, I send you some pitch, and you're not going to hire me. You shouldn't hire me. You really shouldn't. If you did, I think twice about it. So and I think sales management may not be, they have maybe have been on the receiving end of those bad pitches. The other thing that LinkedIn is great to do, and sometimes sales management is a little concerned about this, it's an awesome place to build your personal brand. And some sales management wants to make sure that your personal brand is really aligned with the corporate brand, and it can't be mixed messaging. So there's a certain degree of confusion, and then there are, of course, the businesses where you can't really have much on LinkedIn. There's so much compliance going on with your industry. But I tend to write a lot of social media. The people I write for do not have to deal with the compliance issue. Most of my posts and most of my content that I find gets a huge amount of engagement is very anecdotal and personal, but it brings it back to a business message, because we're all people. We're really much more than the "what do you do?" which is such an off-putting question. What do you mean, what do I do? I do more than just this.
Yeah, and I would say, I don't know, I'm hearing some feedback, but I don't know if that's me or, but I will tell you this. It's interesting that you said about taking the conversation offline, because a lot of people don't know how to do that. They know how to engage and maybe like a comment, like a post, but they don't know how to then take that conversation offline, because that's when the selling starts. The LinkedIn and the social media is just to add value and build your brand, like you said. It's not really to sell there. I had that just happen to me today. I had someone contact me yesterday and then try to sell me on something today. And I immediately broke the I broke the connection, because I'm like, you're doing this all wrong. And I think you're 100% right. You touched on something that I hadn't thought of before. And that was that upper management has probably had that same experience. So they have this negative connotation when it comes to that. So they fear that the salesperson or the person that is trying to put themselves out there is not going to be aligned with the corporate brand as well, and ruin that. And so they'll be associated with the corporate brand, and they don't want to have somebody come in and make that a disaster. So I love that you say that. So thank you for bringing that up. And by the way, what I do want to say is we have a bunch of people I can see on the live stream right now visiting us on LinkedIn Live. You can say hi to Adrian. If you have any comments, post it into the comment section. If you have any questions about what we're talking about with her sales training and the topics we're discussing, feel free to put it into the comment section. Ask her directly. We have her here for a couple of minutes. We might as well pick her brain and take advantage of her. Adrian was a trainer of mine as well. And so I will tell you that when I was a baby rep, if you remember, if you watched the first episode of this podcast, I had a gentleman by the name of Jeff Goldberg. He trained me when I was working for a company out on Long Island, New York. Adrian was part of that training as well. So she's been a part of kind of molding and shaping this madman that you see today. So I appreciate that. Make sure you ask her some questions if you guys are watching us on the live stream. So let me ask you this question, Adrian. I know that you're really good at networking. Okay. And I know that I was bad at it for a long time. And I know a lot of other people are bad at it. How many times has someone out there who's watching goes out and they go to this networking event because their company signed them up for it or whatever, and they don't know who to talk to, what to say, how to establish a relationship? You're sitting at a table with 5 or 6 other strangers. You don't know who's what or who's who and what to do or what to say. You walk out with maybe 5 or 6 business cards and you're like, I don't even know what to do with this. And I know that you're a master networker, and we talked about this. So why is it important? Obviously, we know that why is important, but why are so many people bad at it? And what can they start doing today in this digital world? Because we can't really meet face to face just yet. What can some people do right now in this digital world to start networking and become really good at it?
Okay. So what I think you can do in the digital world, but which worked fabulously when we used to go to events and associations. And let's not forget, guys, we're going to go back. Okay. We're going to leave these, offices that we're in, and we are going to start to go to events again. And there may be more digital activity, but we are going to start going back out again. So here's one of the first things that I learned way back. Most people don't like to go to networking things. Most people get a little intimidated even going on to some of the Zoom things, although I think it's less with the Zoom things because they have the I don't know anybody thing going through their mind, and I don't know what to say and who should I talk to. And that's why Zoom has kind of eliminated that, because there's usually a leader who's gonna take you through it. But if you go into an event, you walk in, and like typically you walk into a room, there's all these people and they all look like they know each other, and they're all best friends. So rule number one, once we start going back outside, go early. Go early, because if you're there early, and trust me, your inclination is to go late because you don't want to be there as long, but go early. So when you go early, you get to, somebody's signing you in, you shake their hand, and now they know you and you know them, and it's great. And now as you go in and you go for a drink or a canapé or whatever it may be, as people start to come because you are there, they will gravitate and walk towards you. All right. You will be the center of influence for a small amount of time. Number two, don't start off a conversation by asking people what they do. I find it the weirdest question. I don't even know what you mean when you say that to me. Of course I do. You mean, what do you do for work? Now, I'm a multipreneur. I have 4 businesses, so I don't know which one I'm supposed to actually talk about. But I do so many more other things, and I'm really an interesting person. You might want to know some of those things. So instead, you might want to say, what brought you to this event? Do you know the speaker? Have you heard them before? Things like that help drive the conversation, and you get them talking. And once you get them talking, it's so much more easy. People are nervous and intimidated because they don't know what to say. Instead of not knowing what to say, plan what you want to ask. And when you have that planned, you are going to find it so much easier to get that whole conversation started and opened up.
Wow, it's funny. As I do these episodes, it's almost like there's a selfish need because I'm learning from you guys. I never thought about that. I love that technique. Go there, ask them, have you spoken to have you heard the speaker before, whoever's a keynote? What brought you to this
group? Right. Are you a part of this group? Are you a member of this association? Right. So they say yes. You go, oh, is it a good association? What do you get out of it? 2 or 3 questions, and they're talking, and eventually it'll come back to you, and it's now an interaction versus, it is awkward. It's incredibly, incredibly awkward when you walk into a place and you don't know anyone, you don't know what to say. First of all, the best tool you have going for you in sales is asking questions, knowing the questions to ask, having them in your toolbox so you can deploy them whenever that you need be. If you ask the right questions, your prospect will tell you what they need, what they want, what they'll pay for it, why they need it, what's the downside if they don't have it. And it's not because you asked the questions straight out like that, but you wove them in to the conversation you're having. And once you know the information, you're so much better able to position what it is you're selling.
Wow, you see that I love that, Adrian. You helped me out, because let me tell you, I in full disclosure and full transparency, I sucked at networking. I was that guy, the one I described earlier when I was teeing up the question to you. I was that guy, right? That would walk in there. I wouldn't know what I was doing here. Who are my targets? Who did I want to talk to? Who could add value to me? There was a room of 100 people. Who do I find the one person that I think I can, work with? And it was just so frustrating. And then what I would do is this: I'd sit at the table I was at, and I'd take my cell phone. I'd act like I'm taking a call, or I'd sit there like I'm texting because I wanted to avoid I didn't know what to say. So I wanted to look like I was busy.
Yeah.
And I used to hate that. Now I've learned more, and I've just learned more now with what you just said. And, so key.
It's My favorite spot on at events was the drink line, because you go slower on the drink line. So you're standing there, sandwiched between two people, and you're pretty much in good spirits because you're going to get a drink. And it's that question. So hey, I've never been at this group. I've never come to this meeting. What do you think about it? Is it good? And the questions, and then it all flows from there. It really all flows from there.
Yeah.
I love it.
So let me ask you this question now,
Sure.
dovetailing off of that, because we're still not at the point yet where we're having these face-to-face. So how can people network digitally now? What are you doing and what are you teaching in your trainings?
Yeah. So, I mean, I run a networking community and we have multiple calls per week. Okay. And I run them. And so it's interesting. And I do participate in some other kind of random networking things. But here's what I'm noticing. When people come on the call now, for most networking calls, you can come on, like you can go to an event like 20 minutes early. You really can. One, you may not be allowed into the Zoom room. If you go in, it's just Zoom etiquette is kind of like you can come a little early, but probably not as early as you can go to events, tell you the truth. But they're run by a moderator. So I try to do a little bit of my homework. If I'm going to something new and I know who's running it, I'm going to find them on LinkedIn, connect with them, and send them a message and go, hey, I'm real excited. I'm going to be in your Zoom on Tuesday. I'm wondering if there's anything you can tell me about it. Do you have a specific type of structure? And I ask a couple of questions. So I'm kind of forewarned about what's going to happen. I'm very keen when I'm doing online networking, as much as I'm very keen when I do in-person networking, as well as I'm very keen in doing just social media connections, is it's all about the follow-up and follow-through. You can sit there can be a Zoom call with all those like 50 little boxes filled with people, and everyone's putting in the chat all the stuff. It's making me crazy because I see people pushing a lot of what they do in the chat, and I'm trying to read that, and I'm trying to, I'm thinking I have to save the chat, but I'm trying to really focus on the people who are talking. So for me, I really focus on the people who are talking, and I have old fashioned, I write down a couple of names. If somebody says something that's like a wow kind of moment that I really want to talk to them, I want to learn from them, I want to network with them, I want to buy what they're selling, whatever it may be. So you can come early, but you can do a little bit of homework in advance of the call. And then you have to make it a point. In my opinion, if you're going to go to a lot of networking things online and you're not going to do any kind of follow-up and follow-through, don't waste your time. Why bother? Mm-hmm. Do you think you're going to be looking at a square and somebody is going to point to your square and go, yo, Adrian, I really want to hire you? That does not happen. It does not happen.
Right.
It's a waste of your hour or an hour and a half. Networking is work.
Mm-hmm. I love it. I love it. And let me tell you, we're getting some comments from the audience here. Josh Feedy, it says LinkedIn user, but I know it's Josh. Josh has a podcast, by the way, as well, called the Buyer Enablement Podcast that I was just on. And so he writes, my favorite trick was to coordinate with someone I knew going to the event, to plan to meet and talk, to create a place for other new people to join in our conversation. So many people just want a conversation to join into, make that easy for others, then break out. I love that he said that. And I think that's a key. I never thought about that, Josh. So thank you for adding that to the conversation. What do you think about that, Adrian? Do you agree?
I love that. I think it's a great idea. The only thing I'm going to, and not addressing it for Josh's comment, but because I was hired to do this for a specific company, when people tend to go to networking events with each other, they don't network with other people. They're like this little cluster, these little 2 people or maybe 3 people. So if your whole purpose is to make a safe space for people to join you, awesome. But if you find that you go to a networking thing and you're standing there talking to this person so intently that actually no one does join you, that doesn't work at all. I mean, because why did you bother going to a networking thing? You could have gone out for dinner or drinks together, and like that would have worked just fine too if you're only going to be the two of you. So one assignment I had from a client, they had a big yearly event, not at Christmas time or holiday time, but a random time. That's exactly why they wanted it. And my job, because their business, a lot of the employees tend to cluster together and almost look like don't come to talk to me, because they really weren't extroverted people. And so what they hired me to do was to walk around. And if I saw two employees spending an inordinate amount of time talking to each other, to kind of break them up. Okay, I was like the designated enforcer or something. I just had to break them up and kind of push them out into the room to have other conversations. It's good to go with someone sometimes, because also I love talking with someone who I know at a networking event. Someone comes over and I'm so excited to introduce my colleague that I'm standing there with. And I'm so filled with enthusiasm, and I'm like bragging about how terrific they are. And I'm saying things that you could never say about yourself without looking like a total ass. So there's all sorts of ways to play it. And the other thing is, even if people are standing there looking all sorts of like, standoffish, and one, they might be because they're nervous, but two, remember, you're all there for the same thing. Everyone's there to meet people and to network and expand their contacts and connections. If that wasn't the case, people could be going home to watch Netflix, to see their family, going to the gym, whatever else you do. It should be an idea that we're all kind of in this together thing.
I love that. And so, speaking about it being in this together, so you have extensive knowledge, right? You've been in business and sales training, like I said in the introduction, in the bio, for over 30 years now. So you've seen a lot of ebbs and flows. You've seen the good times, you've seen the bad times, right? You've seen it all, I would say. And I think you probably agree based on what your knowledge. I would ask you this right now, right? There's all this noise going on. There's COVID, and there's, working remote, and when are we going to go back? And now the vaccines, and there's just a lot of stress. The whole premise of this podcast was to help sales professionals who were struggling because their sales were down. And I'm not just talking about down, I mean really down, like those people who are fearing for their jobs at this point. And that's the reason why I wanted to create this podcast. So from your experience, what are some of the newest trends that you see now that corporations are asking for you to help them train on? And then elaborate on that. Like, how can we further get more information in terms of reaching out to you and elaborating further on what that concept is?
Yeah. So there's a couple things that people are speaking with me about doing training within their organization. And quite frankly, even very small businesses and solopreneurs are talking to me about. And one clearly is high impact networking, and really having it become a force to help build business. Two, people are talking to me about this old-fashioned thing. It's called the phone. It's so funny. I was looking for a phone, and then of course I only see my phone. But remember the phone. We used to actually pick it up and call people. And that's fallen out of tremendous favor. And maybe we can't get to our prospects on the phone. Maybe they're not working in corporate and they're home and they only have their cell phones, whatever the reason is, but you still have to try. But pick up the phone for your networking contacts. Call your dormant accounts. Call people who you wrote a proposal for and it never got accepted. Call your marginal accounts that are kind of giving you a very small amount of business. And do you know that they're only giving you the small business because that's all the business they have, or they're giving a larger share of business to someone else. Really doing your due diligence. So people have been talking to me about how to really impress upon people how to do that. And one of the most important things is, well, it's two things. One, do you really understand what makes you different in the marketplace? Why the heck should anyone buy your product and service? Absolutely why. And no BS reason. And do not say I give good customer service or anything like that, because no one says their customer service sucks, even when it does. Okay. So being real about that, understand, do a personal SWOT analysis, okay, and strengths and weaknesses and opportunities and threats. In light of your competition. And the second thing that's critically important, and I'm working a tremendous amount on this right now, is how do you stay in contact with all of these people, including your networking contacts, including referral sources, including dormant accounts, all of these people. How do you stay visible without being an annoyance, without checking in and touching base, without having nothing but platitudes to say that cause people to actually back off and not take the time to talk to you? Those are very important driving issues right now. The truth is, they were driving issues before. But they're even more important now. So what's really more important now is deploying everything at a higher level, being more productive, really consistently productive. So utilizing either a CRM, some tool that puts it right in your face, that here it is, whatever time of day, and you've frankly done nothing. No revenue producing work at all. Don't bullshit yourself. Have it in front of you, because the fact is, I don't care how great a salesperson you are, how great a player you are, if you're not communicating with enough people, you are not going to have enough business.
Interesting. And so let me ask you this, in talking to you now, we're going on, 32 minutes and change. I can see the positivity. It's coming. It's flowing. Again, no BS. It's flowing through the camera. It's flowing through my end of it on what I'm seeing. And I know that people are stressed out. I talk to them, my peers, on a daily basis. And we talked about different things in this episode, and I've done different things on the podcast. And people could just feel like maybe that they're just mentally broken down. How do you stay positive? I mean, this might not have anything to do with your own training, but what I'm saying is there's a passion that you have for sales. I have the same passion. How do you stay so positive with all this craziness going on?
So part of that is truly hereditary DNA for me. I had a single mom who became a widow quite young. And was not a professional and was not making oodles of money. And my father didn't leave us very much money. He died when he was 42. And she had to keep it together. She had to put it together and keep it together. And she kind of, I watched her, and it's like, she's the original just do it kind of person. I'm real grateful, and for my health, for all the clean water that runs out of my tap, for the fact that I have a roof over my head, and all these things, and more larger and smaller things at the same time. So I have a gratitude practice, and I keep five unique things a day. First, it's the way I start my day, very, very early. 5 things that I'm grateful for. I usually look back on the day before. So for me tomorrow, I'm probably going to be grateful for the opportunity to do this podcast, because that's awesome. I'm so excited. I'm so glad to be able to do this. And I'm grateful that Jeff, who is a friendly competitor of mine, reconnected us and said, "Hey, you should have Adrian Miller on your podcast." I'm grateful. I'm grateful for both of you that I was a positive force, and grateful that Jeff and I have this great relationship. And people would say, "Well, you have a relationship with someone you're a competitor with?" Yes. Yes, life is way too short to be so resistant and closed in and scared and negative. Um, I find it so much easier being happy and being positive. Um, but that doesn't mean I don't have those moments where it's terrible. This was a terrible time. My biggest gratitude, of course, for me is that my immediate family, because my less than immediate family has been sick, but my immediate family, my kids, my husband, etc., have not been sick, that we have been able to maintain our health. Incredibly grateful for that. Actually, in this time, that rides above everything. And no matter how pissed off I am, I just sit back and I go, my gosh, we know what's going on out there. We know how many people are very, very sick. We know how many people are dying. And aren't you lucky to not be one of those people? Now, I use the word luck very carefully here. Yeah, I'm lucky. I don't do anything. I wear a mask. I'm very, 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 very careful about where I go and how I do things. I don't actually have much to do with any people. So I don't know if it's luck for me other than sheer fear. I'm scared of this disease. I'm really scared. It's bad. Okay, because I'm a very healthy person. I'm one of those people who gets a little sniffle and keeps going, and it takes a lot to level me out. I'm scared of this. I like being busy and I like being energetic. It's easier to look at the positives than the negatives. And if anyone out there feels themselves just having a tough time with it and seeing light at the end of the proverbial tunnel, seriously, reach out to me. I like to make people focus in on the positives. And if it really does suck, and sometimes it does, let's look at options. Let's look at alternatives, okay? See what we can do to make it work.
Yeah, I'm 100% in agreement with you. I've lost people because of this, and it's been really tough. I've lost not only people, I've lost my job in November. I've gone through a lot of different things, and I had to reinvent myself. And luckily, I've been able to do that. I feel like I'm confident now in that point of it, and that's the reason why I created this podcast. So that way people who were in my position can look at this and learn from folks like you and folks like Jeff and folks like Todd and everyone else who I've had on the show to talk about what this is. And so if you guys have any questions, like Adrian said, reach out to her, right? You can connect with her on LinkedIn. You can also go to her website, www.adrianmiller.com. I want to show it to you real quick here so you guys can kind of see what it looks like, because I think it's important for you guys to understand. So take a look at her website there. Go to adrianmiller.com. That's her site there. You can see her. Go to Who is Adrian? Take a look at her profile and connect with her there. If you have any questions, she will be the one to go to.
The other one, and just because we were talking about networking, because we really have a very, very supportive community. Put up adriansnetwork.com, or at least just say adriansnetwork.com, because we have dates anywhere you are. You can register. It doesn't cost anything. And check it out. See if it's a community that might work for you.
Give me 1 second. Let me get that up there. adriansnetwork.com, right?
Doesn't work. Yeah. Adrian's
This is really cool, guys. Check out this site here. Let me share this with you for a second here, because even the splash page here, the very first one, is exactly what we're talking about here. This is it, right, Adrian?
Yeah. So register for something. It's up where it says calendar, and you are going to be able to try us out. Try us out. I think that's when we used to do things. We went to went to the theater, we went for dinners, did some travel together. We really have a very awesome community. And as I said, there's about 400 people. Now we have people outside of New York. Um, Check it out.
I
That's all
love
I.
this. Yeah, this is really cool. And you can tell there's a community here. So really, really great information there. That's what it's all about, sharing, adding value to the audience. So thank you for that, Adrian. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys for watching. And thank you for your time. You know, Adrian, like I said, you're doing this out of the goodness of your heart. We added value to the folks that were on today that were watching us. And that's what our goal is. And if we could just help one person get through this craziness during this time till we get back to some sense of normalcy, and then on the other end of it, we're better off, then I think we did our job. So thank you for participating, and I appreciate it.
Thank you. This was great. A lot of fun.
Awesome. Well, Adrian, just hang on tight. Don't let go for a second here. I'm super excited to let you know that this episode was great. If you missed it live, you're probably watching this as a previous live, as a post on LinkedIn. So again, like I said, go to those websites. Go check out Connect with Adrian. Connect with me if you need so I can put you in touch with her. And get ready for our very next episode, which is going to be super, super exciting. I'm not going to tell you who it is. I'll tease it when we do the promotion. But I'm super excited to keep on delivering and giving guys and girls value out there who are in the sales profession. So keep on keeping on. And remember, like we always say when we end these episodes, now with this information, go out and sell something. Take care, everyone. Have a great day.